Afternoon, everybody. Kevin Williams here. Welcome to my channel. I didn't know I was going to have a second video, but after my first one, I had said to them, if I get 10 subscribers, I'll put out another video. Well, I couldn't believe it, but I got 17 subscribers, so I have to keep the 17 happy. So here's another video. So I think the first thing I need to tell you is a little bit about who I am and where I am and what my channel has to offer. So I was born here in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. I have a Chinese wife, and because I'm married to a Chinese woman, there's going to be, obviously, some Chinese content because it's in my life. That's what it is. So now I can't edit. I haven't figured that part out yet. So you're going to have to sit through a bunch of stumbling along here, but I'll do my best. So the content's going to be a little bit about my life, my wife, China, what China has to do with what's going on in the world, how it affects me, my wife, my daily life, things like that. Also, there'll be things about what goes on in my life on a daily basis, things like that. So anyway, just got some people here, just a sec. So anyway, we're going to bore you to tears here. So at this point in time in my life, I am here in Canada because I can't get back to China right at the moment, because I think everybody's heard about this little thing called COVID. It's really thrown a wrench into the works for going anywhere or doing anything. So I'm going to try and keep the content interesting if I can while I tell some stories. I'm going to tell you about my life, how I got to this point, how the fact that up until I turned 50 years of age, I had never been on a plane before, never been anywhere. That kind of changed my outlook on everything. And as I said in the first video, you only know what you see in the TV and read in the newspapers about other countries unless you get there and actually experience it for yourself. So for me, getting on a plane was excruciating is the best word to put it. My first flight is I went to Wales to visit my cousin, Gareth. Hey Gareth, how you doing? It was his birthday and I was one of the surprise guests because nobody thought I was ever going to get on a plane, so they didn't really think I was going to show up. And I tell you, my sister's been flying before and I went with her and I took my kids. And when we got to Wales, Birmingham, my sister apologized to me. And she said that was the worst flight she had ever been on. The turbulence was horrible. I was, great. If that was the worst, then it can only be uphill from here, right? Or downhill from here. Well, coming back, it was even worse than going over. So that didn't pan out very well. But I made it. So that put me on a path to, well, I want to see other places. So I've now been to a few places in the States, Florida, Tampa Bay, Washington, New York. Saw a few of those places. Opened my eyes, because again, what you see on TV and what you hear on the radio whatever. Doesn't quite jive with what you actually see on the ground. So that brings me to the China news. There's so much bad stuff. That's all you hear. Now, it affects my life because of my wife. I'm in a little town, 120,000, and she has already experienced what do they call it, the Asian hate, whatever. But she's already had 3 experiences where people have come up, been very nasty to her, told her she was a virus, told her to go back to her own country. These things are not very nice. But she's endured it. She's endured other things. My wife was a very successful professional woman in China, and she worked in radio technology, where she was able to help with the computer systems to bounce the signals so they got around mountains, you know, buildings, whatever would be in its way. And she was quite high up in her organization. She would fly from city to city, help them fix their problems. And then she met me. Well, the poor thing's been downhill ever since from there. I don't know why she fell in love with me, but she did. Anyway, when she got to Canada, the only Canadian job she could find was cleaning toilets at the Marriott Hotel. This is a woman with a bachelor degree, 2 bachelor degrees, I believe she said. Worked in a software, not a software, cell phone industry. She learned English through working with, her boss was a Welshman of all people, and he decided the best way for her to learn English was to be thrown in with a guy from France of all places who spoke English, and learn English from him. Now the thing was, this guy didn't know any Mandarin, Chinese. So the 2 of them basically had to learn how to communicate. And between the 2 of them, he learned Mandarin and she learned English. She gets over here, very successful. She gets here and she's cleaning toilets, changing bed sheets, cleaning up old food. Not very happy. Next job she got, well, was in a restaurant. Now, it was a Japanese restaurant, but it was run by all Chinese people. But that helped her get more accumulated to the acclimatized, I should say, to the area. And after a while, she realized that they didn't recognize any of her schooling, because again, over here, westernized, it's all fake. You just print that off on the computer, it doesn't mean anything, it's not real. So her BAs, her high education meant nothing. So while she was here, she through the Canadian government, through unemployment, they said, well, why don't we re-educate you? She said, great, fantastic. So she went to St. Lawrence College and she took the accounting course. Now, during that course, she pulled off 4 is the high grade point average. she pulled off 3,995. Like as high as you can get without being perfect. So then, for her second year, they said, "Oh, you know what? You really are as smart as you said you were, and some of those degrees you have. Let's have a look at those degrees." "Oh yeah, okay, we'll accept that. Yeah, you've proved yourself. We'll accept that." So that's good. Now, so she graduated with honors, and after she graduated, she got a job with another Chinese company. Because for some reason, Canadian companies, even with her education, her smarts, her English was really good, they want to hire her. She tried, many places she tried. She got all the way up in most interviews to between her and somebody else. Somebody else always got the job. So anyway, one of her classmates one day said to her, "Oh, hey, I got this email. There's a company looking for office help, and it's a Chinese-run company, but the person needs English skills, and so that they can communicate with both English, Canada people and China people. You should apply." So she did. She got the job. Well, the job was a little more complicated than just office work. There was no office. There was a trailer and a construction site. And she started that job, and they had nothing, okay? And they had a big hole in the ground where the building was supposed to be, and her company was called Real Goal, and they were doing the internal, sorry about that, truck going by, internal mechanisms of, well, here, let me show you. Right here, it's a milk factory. Baby formula milk factory. Now, this factory took almost 3 years to build. My wife was involved from the beginning. They produce baby formula, mainly for the Chinese market, but they are selling milk over here as well. But if you look way over there, where those gray towers are, just on the other side of that light pole, right along there, there was nothing but trailers. And this was just a big hole in the ground. So anyway, her job was to coordinate the workers and the traffic of the trucks coming in and out. Speaking of trucks, there's one of the milk trucks right there. And my wife didn't even know what a skid steer was. She didn't know what a backhoe was. She didn't even know the difference between regular gasoline and diesel fuel. So she was given the job to take all this on and make this help to make this factory. Well, she did. She learned all of that. She not only learned it, she thrived on it. And unfortunately, it didn't open up till like a month before COVID hit. So right now, she's kind of working on, I'd say maybe 25% capacity. They have the loading docks down here. They're supposed to be able to take 20, I think it is, 20 tankers at a time to load and unload. And as you can see, most of them are empty right at the moment. But that's getting off the topic a little bit. So, my wife, by Canadian standards, was only suitable to clean toilets at a Marriott. Yet, she was part and parcel of putting all of this together. So, as far as I'm concerned, fairly smart woman. So now, we're getting into just about the time COVID's going to start. And she realized that her job at this place was finished. And sure enough, come January of that year, she gets her layoff notice. And she's unemployed. Now, at that particular point in time, COVID hits. So, how are you going to find a job? Where are you going to find a job? She couldn't find a job in a Canadian field to begin with, without COVID. So we're looking at this, we're going, you're not going to find a job, so why don't you take some online courses, go for that, the other accounting part she wanted to do, bookkeeping, that's what it was. I said, so why don't you do that, and we'll just see what happens. Well, lo and behold, this is where the Chinese company WeChat becomes a very helpful, resourceful little tool. All Chinese people, Asian people, lots of people actually, WeChat is a network where people get together, keep in touch. You can talk to people across the world, no problem at all. Pay with your WeChat, everything. Anyway, she's got a fairly good amount of people on her WeChat, China as well as here. Like I said, we made a lot of friends, and we met a lot of people, and made a lot of connections through that company. I'm very grateful for that company, that they gave her a good job. She learned a lot. So anyway, about June last year, lo and behold, she gets a message on her WeChat. Hey, Nah, you found a job yet? It's like, no, I'm taking some courses online, but I haven't found a job. Goes, well, says, there's this company. It's called Huawei. You're opening up an office in Kingston. You're looking for a secretary. Maybe you should apply. She's like, oh no, that's research and development. They're a big company. They wouldn't want me. I told her, no, you go ahead and apply. What can they do? Say no? That's good. No. End of story. Move on. So she did. She had a few interviews. Then she had to be interviewed by 4 people at one time. She said that was a little nerve-wracking, but she got through the interview. And then she went to what they could classify as the final interview. And anyway, in that interview, what they did was they wanted her to be able to translate to what would be her boss from English to Chinese and from Chinese to English. She had to do both. And they said, well, we're just gonna tell you, we're gonna talk, you're gonna write it down, and then you're gonna send it back to us on the spot. So that's what they did. Well, she got the job. Well, that job, again, it's another Chinese firm, but again, they saw her ability, they saw her qualifications, they saw how she could do the job, thrive at the job, move forward, and they went, we're lucky to have you. Same as Regal did for the factory here. Meow, who is the head of, and Chris, who is the head of Regal, both of them said to her, we were lucky to get you, we were lucky to find you. Yet nobody in Canada wanted to hire her. Can't understand it. They lost out. All the companies that she applied to, they're the losers. She's an excellent worker. I mean, she helped with this factory. That's huge. It employs, I believe, 265 people from the area. It cost $660 million to build. And somebody said that she was good enough and smart enough to have a hand in this. I think they're right myself. Anyway, that's a little longer than I wanted to go. It was supposed to be just an introductory, but I thought I'd use this factory as a background while I did that. So if you like this video, please like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. Please leave a comment, because I'll tell you right off, the first video I did, some of the guys like Matt from Gio Nation and Waylo 60 and Alex Absolute, I don't know how they did it. Man, I tell you, it took me 5 tries. I was shaking, I was nervous. I look at the video now and I go, my God. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I hope I haven't bored you. I believe my next video, if I do one, I'll tell you how we met. How a person from other side of the world met this Canadian boy and unfortunately fell in love with me and eventually married me. So, but there's an interesting story behind how that all went down, and I hope you'll come and join us for that next one. Anyway, as the Barretts say, take care.